Alright everyone, we are back for more Flesh and Blood talking. This is Chu Heng, one of Singapore's top players and also the tournament organizer for Flesh and Blood here at Gamersaurus Rex, your friendly local game store. Today we are going to talk about the different strategies in Flesh and Blood and some heroes that could fit into those strategies. This video is meant for newer players or beginners who want to find a strategy, find a hero that speaks to them, that they can understand and get into.
maybe relatable from like multiple other card games as well, because I think some of these strategies can incorporate across card games.
Yes.
So we'll start off with the most common strategy in every single card game you play, which is Aggro.
And the strategy basically is just to
Yeah.
kill your opponent as fast as possible.
Correct.
Okay.
So you just aim to put a lot of damage, make your opponent block, and then win the game from there. Generally, what we call on rate for Aggro is like your 0 for 3s we go against. So cards like Hijab is like the most classic example. So the most obvious Aggro hero is actually FaB. So FaB has a lot of these kind of cards.
Basically, your whole hand is 0 cost cards that attack for 3, attack for 4, with go again. So you change 4, 4, 4, 4, 16 damage a turn.
Yeah, so pretty much you try to get about 3 damage per card.
So that's the first one, Aggro. What's next?
So next we have the opposite of Aggros. It's Fatigue. Fatigue, it means you run your opponent out of cards in their deck. Classes included in this category are Guardians and Warriors, because they have access to very big defense reactions and they have a lot of armor. So that's the very common trait in Fatigue decks. What you're trying to do is you're trying to block as efficiently as possible. So every 4 cards you draw, you block as efficiently as possible your opponent's 4 cards. And like whatever remaining cards you have, you swing back with your weapon.
So the weapon part is important because you're not using a card to attack.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So rather than using a card to attack, you trade a weapon attack for a card, and then from there you get incremental, in a sense, incremental advantages in terms of cards in deck. There are a few outliers also. Arachne can also be a Fatigue deck.
Okay.
Yeah, because you are banishing cards from your opponent's deck.
Right.
Yeah, so it also fits into the whole getting cards out of opponent's deck game plan.
Okay, next
Okay,
one.
moving on, we move on to Midrange.
Okay.
So you are just trying to generate incremental advantage, and you have a mix of aggressive and defensive cards. For Flesh and Blood, you have very efficient attacks. So what I mean by efficient attacks is 0 for 4s, because 4 is a number greater than 3, which is the most common blocking number. You have cards that are 4 attack, and then you have a bunch of defense reactions because they also block for more. Yeah, so most of the decks will have a mix of it. So decks like this are like Uzuri.
Okay.
Yeah, Uzuri, slow incremental advantages, or the Illusionist, because you build a board and then you slowly generate an advantage out of it. And yeah, so the common factor is you mix in this kind of strategies to generate your small advantages and defense reaction. Then next we move on to everyone's not very favorite archetype, which is probably combo.
Combo.
Yeah, because everyone likes interaction, but combo tends to not have those interactions.
You're just playing by yourself.
Correct.
Yeah,
So the most obvious example would be Kano. So yeah, so generally combo decks are notorious for one-turn kills or lack of interaction. Combo decks don't necessarily have to kill in one turn. Combo decks generally will try and piece together a big enough turn such that they will have so much advantage to win the game in the next few turns as well. So there are other combo decks that still exist in the format. There is still Botin. Botin with Centauri Sabers. I think that's the other quite well-known combo where you force a lot of damage that your opponent cannot really interact with. So there's the Max Nitro deck.
Oh yes, yes.
Nitro
Nitro Mechanoid.
Yeah, so a lot of these combo decks require some form of setup. So now we move on to, I would say, the final archetype, strategy in Flesh and Blood, which is Hybrid.
Oh, Hybrid, okay.
Yeah, so hybrid decks, we mentioned earlier Botin is a combo deck, but Botin can also exist as an aggro deck. Yeah, so instead of going Centauri Sabers, you can go Raidin. So Botin is a very good example of a hybrid deck where you can actually pivot between your deck can actually change from a aggro deck, which is the Raidin aggro deck, to a Centauri combo deck.
Within the same set of cards.
So within the same set of cards.
So you just sideboard into a different game.
Correct. So it's like a transformation sideboard.
Right.
Which is quite common in Magic, I think. There are a few other examples of hybrid decks. So I would say even Dash. Yes, hybrid Dash is probably the more famous archetype. Yeah, so against like, aggressive decks you can play like Tackle Pounder, and then against like Bravo you can sideboard into an item heavy build with defense reactions. So that's basically how hybrid decks work. So they can change their decks game plan for specific matchup. Hybrid can also encompass like combo in a sense. Yeah, so for the Botin is the first example. The other one is actually Azalea. So
Wow.
Azalea
Azalea
is generally what we will consider an aggro deck because you don't want to block. But again, you also can do things like, oh, I buff this arrow like 5 times and then it has dominate, right? So it has a more combo-ish like factor behind it. So that's the hybrid section of the deck. Yeah, so
That's high roll, not hybrid.
no, because there is still some setup because like you can play cards like Knock the Death Whistle,
For sure,
example.
yeah. Setup it too.
Yeah,
Plan
and
it,
then for New Horizons, because you have an additional Arsenal slot, now you have like 6 cards, so you can chain some combo in a sense. Yeah.
So I think those are all the main strategies.
So that's all the main strategies for Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, so as you can see, some overlap into each other. Really depends on the hero, how you want to build it, and each hero can be built in a few different ways.
Yeah, so generally, even though specific strategies like are more favored, like aggro is more favored for like classes with a lot of gold again, it doesn't always have to be those decks that are only those decks that have to be aggro. You know, so we talk about aggro, like Briar comes to mind, but Briar did win a Nationals on Fatigue. Yeah. So just because your class favors a certain strategy doesn't mean you have to play to that strategy. Like it's still quite open in that sense.
That's one thing that I find super interesting about Flesh and Blood. What is your preferred strategy?
So I mainly play a little bit more on the mid-range combo side.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, one of my better field decks is like Prism and Icelander. So Icelander has a bit of combo elements, but I think most of the deck is actually quite mid-rangey. So you, instead of like DVX as your like defensive, it's more like offensive defense. You play Channel Lake, Frigid, Frostbite.
I think that's it for this video. Hope it helped you. Maybe if you're trying to decide what to play, you can refer to this. Try out a few different heroes, I think. Explore like the different ways they can be built. For me personally, I enjoy like the hybrid versions that have a transformative sideboard effect. It's just very fun to like change the game up every round.
Yeah, it's interesting when you have a transformation sideboard because your opponent also has a thing, right? So there's a mind game factor to it as well.
You just switch out a weapon and you're like, what? Yep, so leave a comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Let us know what other topic to talk about. Yeah, okay, bye-bye.